You're watching Nation 1 TV News Hour and my name is Uzaglo Elizabeth. The Global Young African Women Congress YAWC network has marked its 10th anniversary in Accra with a call for stronger implementation of gender equality laws, legal protections for property rights, and expanded access to economic and leadership opportunities for women.
YAWC Network,
we rise, we lead, and we transform.
Thank you very much.
This lecture or presentation today is looking beyond empowerment of women and looking at how women can create wealth. So for me as a keynote speaker, speaking as a lawyer, I looked at the legal foundation which has been, I look at the historical context, how women appear not to have accumulated wealth, and then I look at the steps that have been taken to put in a number of key laws. Okay, one is the Texas Succession Law, which ensures that spousal property that women contribute to, they get a fair share. I looked at the Land Act, which says there should be no discrimination against women when it comes to land. I looked at the Affirmative Action Gender Equity Act, which says that the number of women, it was enacted because the number of women in leadership positions is low. So it's putting a structure to increase the number of women in leadership. So for this presentation, we looked at, based on this foundation, women can stand on it first as employees to equip themselves and seek for promotions so that they get into leadership positions. Because women need to be at the table where decisions are taken. For those who are employers, they have to make sure that they apply the provisions of the law, and ensure that there's equity at the workplace. And then for those who are entrepreneurs, the advice to them was that they should equip themselves with knowledge of the law, literacy skills, work with professionals, accountants, lawyers, etc. So the businesses that they are doing can be upskilled and they can get proper records of the wealth they are generating so that they can be able to have a more sustainable business and create wealth that will go beyond generations. Where the law is, one of the weakest parts of the law is Section 20 of the law, which talks about when it comes to parliament, entry into parliament. It just says, the political parties should have manifestos which ensures gender equity. They should provide support to ensure that more women are elected, etc. But there are no sanctions. So we don't expect much. So one of the things we realized about the law is that we wanted those provisions to be stronger. But we were told during the law-making process that Parliament can't go beyond what is the Constitution. The Constitution sets out who can go to Parliament. There's nothing about gender issues about gender quotas, etc. So we've made a submission to the Constitutional Review Committee to add gender quotas on the parts of the Constitution dealing with how people get to go to Parliament. That is the only way in which we can see an increase in the numbers of women in Parliament. As it is now, it is like an obligation that the parties are supposed to comply with. We are talking to them that even with the provisions as it is, they should try and increase the number of women. But politics in Ghana is very keen. The fight is it's first past the post, so it's not an easy fight. If we get the constitutional change, it will make things easier. Otherwise, we have to still keep dialoguing with them to increase the number of
chapters across the African continent and the diaspora. We have 10 here, and we have one in UK and one in the USA. For the past 10 years, we have been championing women's empowerment. We have been championing women's development. We have been championing women's advancement. And our Lord has been faithful with us. Through our work, we have created a lot of impact in Ghana, in several African countries. I believe when I was reading my speech, I gave some statistics. And we decided to commemorate the 10th anniversary this year. So the public lecture is one of the programs that we have set aside to commemorate the anniversary. Now, the reason why we set up this event is that we realize that, yes, we have been giving women voices, we have been empowering them and all that, but I think that it's time that we move beyond that. We should be intentional about women owning assets. We should be intentional about women being allocated with resources to really make meaningful impact in their society. Because you cannot be talking about skills development, you cannot be talking about empowerment, and at the end of the day, the woman is impoverished. We should be intentional about it. There should be regimes, legal regimes, to be able to ensure that we put the right measures in place so that women can advance, themselves. As the keynote speaker was speaking, sometimes when couples even want to own assets, it is Mr. and Mrs. For instance, my name is Osei-Tufo, so it's Mr. and Mrs. Osei-Tufo. What about tomorrow? God forbid, there is divorce, and I marry again. The new woman is still Mrs. Osei-Tufo. So what shows that the woman that I acquired the asset with is a co-owner of that. So we should be intentional about putting certain systems in place. So systems like, even when you want to acquire asset with your spouse, it should be Mr. and Mrs. Daniel, and say if my wife is called Felicia Osei-Tufo, so that tomorrow, when even there is separation, God forbid, the woman still has that power, that chance to claim ownership. So it is important that we put some of these measures in place. Now, we talk about quota systems. Yes, we have been able to pass the affirmative action bill in Ghana, but we need to be intentional about implementation. Currently, Ghana, for instance, when you go to parliament, the legislature, the percentage is below 15%, but the target is to reach about 30%. Are we really serious about this, development, or we are just paying lip service to it? So it's not enough to pass laws. We should be intentional about enforcing those laws. We should be intentional about saying that when we are going to these elections, this particular constituencies should be contested by only women. When you do that, there is what we call equity. So there is a balance. We need to be, because all these years, the men have taken the center stage. They have all been the ones who are leading. Talk about cabinet, the cabinet ministers. What is the percentage of women in there? They are not even up to 20%. So we should be intentional about it. So not just this particular government, but all successive governments should be intentional about it. And this can happen when the laws we make are enforced. We are intentional about it. So before elections, all presidential candidates should sign certain documents that after they are elected into power, they will make sure that 30% of their ministers are women. And when we do that, that is when we can say that we are really doing something. We really want to create some form of result. So that is the reason why we decided to put together this public lecture at our 10th anniversary as an organization, that is the Young African Women Congress Network, so that some of these issues will be addressed. I'm happy we have a number of media houses, about 20 media houses are here, and they are carrying the story. We are even going beyond just the being aired in the news to publication, because the lessons that were shared today by the keynote speaker, Mrs. Shilaminka Premo Esquire, is worth something that should be consumed by all. It should be addressed, it should be embraced in academia, it should be embraced by our political, colossus, it should be embraced by the business entity. Look at our energy sector. Yes, we know that over the years it has been male dominated, but today we have a lot of our women who are studying in chemical engineering. A lot of them are studying electrical engineering. We should be intentional about employing a number of them. So, left to me alone, there should be laws that at every appointment of, especially, leaders of our energy sector, a certain percentage of it should be reserved for our women. We should have, if not even the MDs, of course, we can even have some women MDs in companies like, especially the parastatals. Once you're able to start from there, the private sector will have no other option than to also emulate. So I believe that these are some of the steps that we can put together to really address the gender agenda, to really address the quota system, to really address the equal representation. Thank you.
Thank you for watching Nation One TV. Kindly subscribe for more news updates.